So today is the first day of National Women's History or Herstory Month. So I decided to go back in time, right? And we're going to begin with Mother Mary, the divine feminine within us. In the Sophia Code, Mary's final incarnation, Mother Mary's final incarnation, is described as that of a highly advanced soul born in the Hebrew Essene community, a mystical spiritual order devoted to purity and divine preparation. Her life was prophetic. Before she was conceived, ancient texts declared her a mother of salvation for humanity. Her birth and the birth of her son were foretold by prophets hundreds of years before their arrival. During her mother Anna's pregnancy, angelic messages announced Mary's destiny and the necessity of spiritual training to fulfill her divine purpose. So that's why they sent her to the Essene community. They actually gave up the child that they had been working so hard to conceive, and it was a long time, and they gave her up because they knew that was what was going to help her help humanity, help them help humanity. But here's what matters most. Mother Mary's deepest desire was that humanity come to know itself as the divine it seeks, as the divinity it seeks. So what's so powerful about that is it's not about worshiping divinity outside of ourselves, but to awaken it within ourselves. That is the power that each of us has, is to go through this life holding that love and seeing that love and experiencing that love. Not looking outside of ourselves for other people to love us, but for us to love no matter what. Much like Jesus' message, right? Jesus was all about what are we doing from within. Today, Mary is deeply revered by the Catholic tradition. The Rosary, which is a string of beads that you say the Hail Mary 10 times and the Our Father and all these different prayers. It's a contemplation prayer practice centered largely on the Hail Mary and is often called a pathway to the heart. And in 1950, Pope Pius XII declared the Feast of the Assumption a holy day of obligation, affirming the belief that Mary was taken body and soul into heaven. The legend says that she did not die. She fell asleep and was lifted into divine glory. Whether taken literally or symbolically, the message is clear. Since Mary is representative of love, then love does not die, right? We get to carry that forward. The soul does not perish, and the feminine divine is eternal. I know I had 2 secondhand experiences with the Mother Mary. When Michael passed, he smelled roses, or actually before he passed, twice when he had a near-death experience, and then actually right before he died. He smelled roses. He was like, "Where are the roses? I'm smelling roses." I'm like, "There are no roses in here, Michael." And then he also saw a woman in a blue gown that he talked about. There's a woman in a blue gown. Now, Michael was raised Jewish, so he didn't have all of the background around Mother Mary. He saw twinkling lights. He felt wind. We were in a hospital, and he's like, "What's that wind on my face?" And that's another sign that Mother Mary is present. And the unmistakable presence of comfort and love. He said he felt so good. And yet, he came back both times because he wasn't ready to leave. And then later that night, the second time, he transitioned when I wasn't there. So the rose has long been associated with her presence, a symbol of divine love unfolding. According to Unity's revealing word, Mary represents the soul, the emotional nature, the divine feminine, intuition, and divine motherhood. Metaphysically, Mary is not a historical figure. She is principle, like God is principle and Jesus is principle. She represents the soul's pure, unselfish desire to know the truth of being. And the truth of being is, what are we? Love, right? We are love. We are made of love. And with that comes peace. We carry that peace with us. Her virginity symbolizes perfect receptivity, an immaculate consciousness free from ego interference. The virgin birth is the moment when a divine idea forms in consciousness, and is quickened into manifestation. She is the receptive field of divine potential. And when the idea of Christ consciousness formed in her awareness, it quickened into life, which was the life of Jesus. And that is the birth of the Christ within Mary. In A Course of Love, one of the days, it talked about Mary was the feminine Christ consciousness. And it was just like, I don't know, for the first time I got it on a new level. Like it all of a sudden made so much sense that the way Jesus was able to create wine and bread for the wedding, Mary was able to create a human being, which is so, I get goosebumps, so amazing to me. So Mary and Jesus shared the mission of the heart. Jesus came to travel the truth of being. We are children of God. But Mary lived the truth through surrender. She called herself God's handmaiden. She accepted divine will. She trusted. She had faith that she was loved. She knew what was hers to do, and she did it, even when it defied culture, logic, and safety. Both Mary and Jesus taught love, but Mary teaches us how to receive love. Mary's teachings are also often called the way of the rose, and the rose unfolds one petal at a time. So none of this is we're supposed to do very quickly, right? It's a process. It's a journey that we are all on, one petal at a time. We cannot force it open. We cannot rush it into blooming. The way of the rose is a daily spiritual practice of listening to the guidance of our heart. There is no higher guidance. Your heart is your true north. Your heart is God's will, expressed uniquely as you. Mother Mary mentors us in how to open our hearts slowly, safely, one petal at a time, so we may assimilate to greater levels of divine love and bliss consciousness. Bliss and love are not things that we chase outside of ourselves. It is all something that we allow from within. Now, the mind and the heart. Our mind was designed to be empty, receptive space for the visions of the heart to manifest. But when dominated by the ego, the mind tries to lead. Mary teaches us the reverse. The heart leads, and the mind serves. As we practice listening daily to our heart's guidance, the mind shifts from egoic commander to faithful ally. And the physical co-creation of our true desires reveals the power of the heart to fulfill its destiny. So why was Mary able to live a life like that when there was so much that she endured? The scandal, the uncertainty, the crucifixion of her son. Because she trusted. She saw herself as God's handmaiden. She knew she was loved. She knew she was love. She knew her life had purpose. She saw herself as an instrument of divine will. And the miracle is that so are we. We are the miracle. We are divine will. We are love. We are peace. So Mary is not only a woman of history. She is an awakened soul within each and every one of us. She is our intuition. She is our receptivity. She is our courage to say yes to divine will, our willingness to birth new consciousness in the world. And every time we listen to our heart, every time we choose love over fear, every time we allow a divine idea to form and we nurture it into being, the Christ is born again. The rose opens and humanity evolves far beyond what we can see and even what we can imagine. So Mary Magdalene. Mother Mary was Mary Magdalene's mentor. She met her in the Essene community and then went on. And in 1869, the Gospel of Mary was acquired in Egypt and eventually housed in Berlin. The text is incomplete. Pages 1 through 6 and 11 through 14 are missing. It is the only known gospel by a woman, and its voice is unmistakable. It presents a Christianity centered not on external authority, but on internal awakening. In 591 CE, Pope Gregory I delivered a homily identifying Mary Magdalene as a prostitute by identifying her as the unnamed woman in Luke 7. That label endured for nearly 1,400 years. But in 1969, a Catholic church formally corrected this misidentification, and in 2016, Pope Francis elevated her feast day to the same rank as the apostles, affirming her ancient title as the apostle to the apostles. Mary Magdalene is named in all 4 well-known accepted Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. She was healed by Jesus. She stood at the foot of the cross. She went to the tomb. She was the first to witness the resurrection, and she was the first person Jesus addressed after rising. This alone makes her foundational. She is the first witness to the resurrection consciousness. Not Peter, not John, not Paul, but Mary. She teaches that sin is not inherent. We simply miss the mark. Healing is remembering who we are. In the Sophia tradition, the mystical traditions of Mary Magdalene is seen as embodying divine feminine Christ energy, same as Mary Magdalene, as Mother Mary. She represents spiritual authority grounded in love, self-mastery, inner knowing, and leadership without hierarchy. Yay. Her relationship with Jesus, viewed mystically, models reconciliation, not competition. Between divine masculine and divine feminine, there is no competition. There's no dominance. There's no subordination. There's balance. Jesus and Mary needed one another. Mary made women feel safe to follow Jesus. Jesus made men feel safe to receive healing from Mary. Together they encoded humanity with a template of sacred partnership. Her gospel reframes ascension. It is not rising upward. It is descending inward. Our ascension is about going in and finding that place within us. Farther up is really deeper in. Ascension is full divine embodiment, 100% human and 100% divine. Not worshiping the Christ, becoming it. Acquiring your peace within yourself. How radical is that? What this means for us is Mary Magdalene's rediscovery is not just historical correction. It's a spiritual reclamation. It asks, where have I doubted my own authority? Where have I silenced my inner knowing? Where have I believed I was unworthy? We are inherently good. The divine is within. Love is the way. When we block the heart, we block vision. When we open the heart, we remember who we are. The new integration, the new way, let's say, we're not either divine or human, we are both. Not hierarchical, but harmony. Not external salvation, but inner awakening. We do not need to become someone else. We need to remember what has always been within us. Joy is not an external acquisition. It is a recognition of unity with spirit that lives within us. So the question becomes, what feeds your heart? What brings you joy? What is your inner authority asking of you? Mary's story invites us to restore balance, to live heartfully, to trust inner vision, and to walk forward without fear. Love is not something we seek, it is what we are. Same message as Mary and Jesus, right? Now we have Myrtle Fillmore. And you may have asked, why did she include Myrtle? Well, Myrtle, when she was born on August 6, 1845, was actually named Mary Catherine Page. And she didn't like the name Mary, so she picked Myrtle. I don't get that, but that name's certainly unforgettable, right? They're not going to mix her up with anybody else. But Myrtle Fillmore spent much of her early life in fragile health. She suffered from tuberculosis and was told her condition was hereditary and incurable. In 1886, at 41 years old, she was told that by her doctor that she better go home and get her affairs in order because the end is near. Now, she had 3 children. And she was like, that's unacceptable. It's just not going to happen. And she attended a lecture by metaphysical teacher E.B. Weeks, who made a statement that changed her life. And the statement was, you are a child of God, and therefore you do not inherit sickness. And something awakened in her. Instead of accepting illness as destiny, she began speaking words of truth to her body, especially to her cells. She prayed daily, affirming life, strength, and divine order. She did do one denial. You know how we have denials in affirmation? Her denial was that it didn't matter what her physical looked like. She was no longer going to believe that, and she was going to go back in and affirm every cell of her body that was healthy, every organ that was healthy, and just keep affirming that. She blessed her organs. She thanked her body for its faithful service. And gradually, within 2 years, she experienced complete healing. This was not denial of the body, it was cooperation with the body. Out of her healing practice grew what became Unity. Alongside her husband, Charles Fillmore, he helped found Unity School of Christianity, which is now Unity Worldwide Ministries. But make no mistake, Unity did not begin with Charles Fillmore preaching. Unity began with Myrtle praying. She was the quiet, steady, heart-centered force, writing letters, mentoring students, teaching practical Christianity, and modeling faith in action. So how is Myrtle similar to Mother Mary? Mother Mary represents metaphysically receptivity, divine motherhood, intuition, and the soul's yes to God. Myrtle Fillmore lived this same yes. Like Mother Mary, she accepted a divine idea in consciousness, she nurtured it, and she birthed something that would bless all of humanity. Mary birthed the Christ child. Myrtle birthed a movement grounded in Christ consciousness. Mary trusted God's will in circumstances that defied logic. Myrtle trusted divine life in a body that doctors said would fail. Both women saw themselves as instruments of divine life. They lived from the heart rather than fear. They modeled surrender without passivity. Thank you, Jen. Mary said, "Be it unto me according to thy word." And thy word is God's word from within here, love from within here. Myrtle said, in effect, I am a child of God. I will not inherit sickness. Both chose faith and words over appearances. Now, how is Myrtle similar to Mary Magdalene? Mary Magdalene represents spiritual authority rooted in love, inner revelation, devotion, and the courage to stand firm when doubted. Myrtle also embodied this. Like Mary Magdalene, Myrtle claimed inner authority, she trusted her direct spiritual experience, and she lived in devotion to truth rather than tradition. Myrtle stood in faith when doctors and culture said her healing was impossible. Magdalene carried teachings others questioned. Myrtle taught metaphysical Christianity in a time when women were not encouraged to lead in any way, let alone spirituality. Just as Mary Magdalene's role was overshadowed for centuries, Myrtle's influence is often understated compared to Charles's public leadership. Yet Unity was shaped profoundly by her spiritual depth. So all three women embody the divine feminine expression of Christ consciousness. Mother Mary had the receptive womb of divine idea, surrendered to divine will, and nurtures Christ's life. Mary Magdalene was courageous, apostle of resurrection, had inner authority and devotion, witnessed the resurrection. Myrtle Fillmore, practical healer and co-creator of a movement, faith applied to a body and daily life, demonstrated healing through consciousness. They teach us divinity is received in the heart. Resurrection is experienced through love. Healing happens through alignment with truth. Leadership does not require domination. The heart is a portal of transformation. Now, the deeper metaphysical parallel. Mother Mary symbolizes the soul of saying yes. Mary Magdalene symbolizes the heart remaining faithful through death into resurrection. Myrtle Fillmore symbolizes the mind cooperating with the heart to manifest healing. Together, they form a sacred progression: receptivity, devotion and witness, and demonstration. And isn't that the path for all of us? We receive the divine idea. We remain faithful even through challenge. If the divine idea is to live in peace and love, it might be challenging right now, but we can do it because we are made of love. And we demonstrate it in our lived experience. That's our fifth principle. We live these principles. We don't just talk about them. We don't just think about them. We live them. What this means within the will framework, which is will, imagination, love, and life. Will, Myrtle's determination to speak truth to her body. Imagination, Mother Mary's capacity to conceive divine possibility. Love, Mary Magdalene's unwavering devotion. And life, the manifestation of Christ consciousness through all three. These women are not passive figures. They were spiritually disciplined, emotionally courageous, and radically receptive. They did not seek power over others. They embodied power within. And that is the invitation for us. Not to worship them. Let them be our way showers and awaken what they demonstrate. Awaken it within us. I want to say thank you. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your compassion. Thank you for your empathy. Thank you for your courage. I see you, I appreciate you, and I love you. And know that you are blessed and a blessing.